Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, and I'm joined with Dan Guerrett and Representative
John Graham
from Bedford.
From Bedford.
And today's topic, and both of you are also from the American Legion,
yes,
representing. Today's topic is going to be about this wonderful program that I just learned about called Boy State.
That's it.
Boy State. And it's been around for about 66 years.
In New Hampshire, 66 years.
66 years.
Yeah, and probably 88 years nationally.
And it's affiliated with, of course, the American Legion.
Yes.
It is. We are the sponsors, and we pick up the cost of it for the students who go. So.
Right. And what is the whole purpose of this Boy State? What is it all about?
The purpose is to try to work with our young folks in high school, people who have completed their junior year of high school. And basically what we're trying to do is get them interested in the American way of government so that they can understand how it works and that they can hopefully become involved. And we do that through having them get together and establishing their mythical 51st state called Boy State.
Okay.
And it also helps them, another purpose is developing their leadership skills. We'll talk a little more later about when students get elected to offices, they actually run the office that they've been elected to. Okay. So it's been around, like I said, 66 years, and we put a lot of students through the program.
And it's interesting. I just heard about it, and we had a coffee at the Riverwalk Cafe here in Nashua, and just sitting there talking about it, and I hear about this, the more impressed I am. And you made a comment that kind of stuck in my mind that, when the boys come in, the week after they're done this program, they leave men. Because something happens, something changes, and because they learn, what do they learn? What is it?
Basically, when they arrive at the program, they've already been assigned to a city or town, political party, which is a mythical political party, also whether they're in the House or the Senate. And what we do is we take 2/3 of the students and put them in the House and 1/3 in the Senate to simulate what happens in reality. And essentially the same thing with the cities and towns. The city is a little bit larger than generally the two towns that we have. And basically through the use of guest speakers as well as a very competent staff who've all been through the program, they guide the students on establishing their governments, initially as city and town, and then ultimately establishing the party platforms and having their elections with the primary elections and then final elections of the governor's office. And what happens during their individual section is, like I said, when somebody gets elected the mayor, he then becomes in charge of the city. The staff is there to guide them, but the student exhibits his leadership skills with the support of the staff.
Do you listen to the dialogue that's going on during this whole process? And what do you discover in this whole process?
I discover that we have a lot of great young men in the state of New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. They come from all walks of life, all parts of the state, from Berlin to Hinsdale to Nashua, and a lot of points in between. And they're all there to learn. And I think that that's the big thing. And what Dan was saying is they do it. They do their platform. They do the elections. They run for elections or become a campaign manager for somebody. So that's the learning process. It's not, for example, I teach a class on what we do up at the State House, right. How the House works and how the Senate works. But I don't come in and then watch and say, this is how you have to run your House meetings. Sometimes it gets a little rambunctious, but they work it out. And I think that that's the big thing.
Right.
Yeah, one of the beauties of it is, as John mentioned, somebody coming down from Coos County finds out that people on the seacoast have different interests, right. Different needs. Somebody from Nashua, right. Or somebody from the Walpole, New Hampshire, they get to learn that, wow, there really is a difference here. It's sort of like when you go to kindergarten, all you know your family's values, and you get into school and you hear different things. And it's the same thing at Boy State, and they create friendships that we hope will last forever. The program, one of the mottos of the program is a week that shapes a lifetime.
So you're basically offering this to juniors in high school,
That's
or
correct.
In middle school, or whatever.
Junior high school.
Junior high school.
Yeah.
How do the schools respond to this, and how do the kids get involved? How do they get selected for this program? Do you have to be an honor student, or?
Well, basically, we send out the applications around the end of February, early March, and we also send them to all of the high schools in the state. All of them are 120-something invited to participate, and we also involve the homeschool associations.
Oh.
And we hope that there's a guidance counselor or a social studies teacher, somebody who we'd like to have as a champion within the school that promotes the program. Now, we understand that guidance counselors, everybody, they're all overworked, they have other things to worry about, but the ones that are familiar with the program really do a pretty good job. We would like to have more students. We've had more students in the past, and we are settled around between 55 and 65 now for the last handful of years. We'd love to get it back to 100, and we're hoping that this program generates some interest and gets them up there. So they're expected to have at least an 80 average, and we rely on and we rely on the school to give us students who can take the pace, because as we discussed at coffee, there's no real lax time here. They're up at 6:45 in the morning till late into the evening, although they're given activity periods and some kind of rest periods in the course of the day.
I was going to ask, the students that have come in the past, what are their general interests when they get there? What are their expectations? Are they fully aware what they're looking at?
Most of them are, because they've been talked to either by the individual in the school, or hopefully, if not with them to do it, one of the Legion posts. There's 100 American Legion posts throughout the state who actually do the sponsoring of the students and help pick up the tab for this week at Riviera College.
Right.
So they've all talked to them. I know that I talked to the ones that, for example, come from Bedford, and others that anybody wants me to talk to, but this is what it is. And they also get a packet. Dan's not real thick, but a thick packet of what to expect, what to bring, and they all have to have written a bill that they want to submit to the legislature before they get there. That's part of their application process.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
right.
So they've had to have given a little bit of thought about what they want to do, and then they have to follow that bill through when they get there.
Oh,
and they do have on the first day, we do have a session on writing bills, and the student can revise the bill.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
amended or right?
Well, it's like going to legislative services. And,
It's just making a little commitment when they get there to have some kind of a bill that they're thinking about.
Now, do they have to take a civics course or anything like this at the school, or?
No, it's open to any junior, as Dan was saying, public, private, or homeschooled, who is finishing their junior year and going into their senior year in school.
Why?
And now I think that most of them have had some exposure to, either through the social studies curriculum or whatever, what American civics are.
Right.
But our emphasis is on state government, town, city, a little bit on county, and state government, and then how the things work here in New Hampshire. And we get a lot of great speakers who come in and just talk about, what does a town manager do? What does a selectman do?
Right. Right. City councilor
or executive council. We've had Councilor Pignatelli has come in and talked with the students before about what the executive council does here in
Do you get into school boards or zoning or planning?
Well, last year the town government speaker we had did a lot of zoning. And that was Dean Shankle from Hooksett. And he did a really nice job. The kids, I think, were almost expert in zoning by the end of his session. But we do the legislative branch and the executive branch. We also do the judicial. We do something at the judicial branch also. We have usually a representative from the Attorney General's office comes in and talks about criminal process. And we have a local police department, usually Nashua, the program's in Nashua. They come in and talk about juvenile offenses, juvenile offenders, community policing, things that the kids would be interested in. And those questions are always great because the kids will put their hand up and say, well, I know somebody who. It isn't me. But and then we also have somebody, sometimes, most of the time it's been a judge who come in and talk about the court system in the state of New Hampshire. And then we also have a mock trial, which the students participate in.
I know that a lot of people are very ignorant about what the sheriff's department does. Is that part of the program too, or? And I say ignorant, not just they just don't know.
Well, we spend very little time on county government. you know, just that it's part of your and it's, you know, the police, the prisons, the county jails, and the sheriffs who serve writs. And so there's not a big section on it.
Right.
Well, you know, but we only have the 5.5 days or so there, and if you start out with saying, well, you know, here's your town, here's your county, you got to develop that. You have to do your party platform and write that, and they do write their own party platform, as Dan said, and then go into what the legislature does, what the judicial, you know, so we have them working, and not to slight county, but most of what we teach about New Hampshire is then transferable if they ever want to leave the state. Hopefully not, but they may.
Right.
You know, so.
You're investing into the kids so that they can have
sure.
they can walk in. You know, usually, actually, when I became a state rep, it was like drinking out of a fire hose. It really was. There was, you know, we had to go through the rules committee, and I, you know, who's who, and I only knew a few people there, and what the whole process was, and it almost took me 6 months to the year to get my feet to understand.
Yeah.
And then the fire in the belly.
Yeah.
So.
We have all those speakers, and then toward the end of the week, on Thursday, we take a trip up to Concord, and we have the students fed at a local Legion post to make a change, and then we meet with the governor. And generally what happens, John coordinates that, and the Speaker of the House invites the governor to come into the House chamber, addresses the students, and then when the governor's done, the students get to debate 1 or 2 bills in the actual House of Representatives.
Oh, wow.
And then you get the kids of the elected Speaker of the House just marveling at, wow, the real speaker sits in this chair
Right.
and begs the gavel.
Oh, that's memorable.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah, it is memorable.
You know, and so the memories too are important to the students, you know, as well as what they learn. But if you can have them do it themselves and make it memorable, maybe it will stick. You know, it's sort of like going to college classes where it's just a lecture class versus one where there's only 15 or 20 of you and you have to participate.
Right,
You
right.
know, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And our staff is a real combination of, we have an attorney, we have a couple people working on doctorates, we've got an MIT student. So we've got quite a capable and qualified staff, and they're all the youngish so that the kids can relate to them. And one was an Annapolis grad, so if they're interested in the academies, they can have conversation with that person during the week. So they get pretty comprehensive experience coming to the program.
Tell us about some of the success stories, although drink some water, that people who have graduated and gone on to further get a life in politics, or you mentioned a few.
Well, you know Kevin Landrigan?
Yes.
He's a graduate of Boise State.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
You know, so it could be almost any field, not just politics or.
Jeff
or
Rose,
anything.
Jeff Rose is the Director of Public Affairs, I believe, at BAE.
Right.
And he was a 19, well, I won't get divulge his
He's
age.
not-
He was way back.
19 still dates you.
And
That's
Chris
way back.
Hodgson, who's the Director of Public Relations for Comcast, also was a graduate. So those are kind of a couple that kind of stand out.
But as Dan was saying, we currently have students who are at MIT, UNH, a couple of the students who went last year are just been nominated to go to the service academies.
Now-
Excuse me.
Now, Revere University, right? It's now a university
Last-
here in
last
Nashua.
July, yes.
They offer credits if you've gone through the course.
Yep, this is an agreement we made with them in 2006. We presented the purposes of the program, what our curriculum was, and they did approve it for 3 college credits. It's optional to the students. There's no requirement. They have to pay $100 a credit, which is a great deal today. But they can get 3 college credits. They successfully complete the program. There is some testing at the end of the week, primarily to make sure we're conveying what we're trying to convey to the students.
Right.
So then they get their grades, and then if they choose to, they apply and get the 3 credits awarded. And the credits are transferable to any accredited college.
And there's a ceremony at the end of the week, the graduation
Yes, we have a
ceremony.
graduation ceremony, and at that ceremony, you want to say something about that? You want me to?
Yeah, well, the ceremony, we, you know, obviously give out their diplomas, and then I'll get a diploma, and we award scholarships. that, well, educational grants, yeah, however you want to phrase it. What did we give out last year? About $7,000.
Wow.
And, when you get about 60 kids, those are pretty good odds, because nobody can win
Yeah.
two.
Right.
Yeah, and
Is
so,
60 the magic number?
no,
or-
we'd like to
No.
be up over 100.
Yeah, we've got to accommodate about 110 in the dorm that we have.
Yeah.
Now, we have a 400 piece legislator. Can you do up to 400, or is 100 the
well,
max?
We're probably restricted to about 100, maybe 110.
Right.
Because of the facilities. But
But-
but
but
also
100
at the graduation, we also, during the week, we have successfully or succeeded in selecting a candidate for what we call the Samsung Scholarship. And that's a $1,000 scholarship, but that person then becomes eligible for one of 12 $20,000 scholarships at the national level in September. And as the name implies, Samsung donated about $5 million to the American Legion some years ago in gratitude for our efforts in the Korean War. And we live off the interest. And so we still have that $5 million, and students who get their scholarship. And then 2008?
Yeah, it was 8, yeah.
Berlin, Hampshire, we had our one winner at $20,000, which is great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then also, at the graduation, we select students to go to the national program called Boys Nation.
And there's two that
There
get
are
that?
two get selected and 2 alternates. And they get all expenses paid trip to Marymount University for 10 days. They get to meet the President of the United States. They meet any other cabinet member who's in town. They have special tours of the FBI buildings and the Bureau of Printing and Engraving,
inside
et cetera, et
invitation,
cetera.
right? Nice.
Yeah, so it's, again,
And-
it's a nice package.
Many people remember the picture of Bill Clinton with John F. Kennedy. He was the Arkansas representative from Boys State that year. That's how come he was there to meet.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that have gone through the program in other states that are also successful. But,
It creates quite an awareness and a
Yeah.
better understanding of how your government, and how you can be effective in your
That's-
government.
Yeah.
well,
And actually, on our website currently, there's a video of, what's his name?
which,
What is the name of the website, by the way?
It's New Hampshire. It's www.newhampshireboysstate.org.
Is there a fee to be part of this, or is it 100% taken by the?
Well, we have been, the last couple of years, we've charged the students $25 application fee. And then the American Legion pays $300. They raise the money. Some of the legions will pay that $25. And so it's all covered. So there's really almost no cost to them. And we actually provide them with snacks and sodas all week, which is quite a thing.
But
I
when
just remembered now, Tom Brokaw
Oh,
is on the video, because he was
Yeah,
governor
that's
of Boys State in North or South Dakota.
That's right. You brought that up in our
Yeah,
conversation. Yeah.
and it's kind of a
But-
nice little piece that we have on there.
it is. But, and when you think about it, we are getting a decent deal, not just decent, a very good deal from Riviera University with what they charge us to putting them up, feeding them, using the classrooms, and the rest. But for the student, we pay, and it's a great opportunity for them.
Now there's a girls' state too. So there's one specifically for girls. There's one specifically for
Right.
maybe a different philosophy, or how?
Well, the Girls State is run by the American Legion Auxiliary. We essentially have the same purposes and objectives, but the methodology is a bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they also utilize Revere?
No, they do not. They have on occasion. I'm not sure where they are this year.
Last year, I know that they went to Franklin Pierce,
Pierce.
over in Range.
Yeah.
And they get people, some of the female members will go. The Speaker of the House, Terry Norelli, has been over there, and various chairmen and others, so that they have a female role model to
Right.
come in and talk to them, which makes a
There are
lot
a lot
of
of them
sense.
available this year.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. They have been in the past, even,
yeah.
but even, executive counselors and,
Yeah,
like
Executive
Counselor,
Counselor Pignatelli does a great job for us when she's available.
so, it does matter to bring in on the girls' side, to bring in, strong female role models when they're doing it. And they do a good job of trying to do that.
Now, have you been invited to the schools to talk about this at all, or are you waiting for the invitation?
Well, essentially what happens is when the applications go out, the local Legion posts are requested to make an approach to the school.
Okay.
So some do, some don't.
And sometimes it's hard to get in.
Yeah.
As Dan said earlier, a lot of guidance counselors, principals, history teachers, whatever, whomever, it's one of those, oh, it's something else,
Right.
Another program, but if you can find one person in the school who either understands the program or has been through it, you have an in. So you just have to be persistent.
Yeah, and we do send the materials to all three of those, principal, guidance counselor, social studies department.
And if it's during the time of testing, oh, hello, forget it.
Yeah.
I was talking to one teacher just recently, and she's their school happened, and this is in the elementary, but they were going through specific testing, and they're selected. And she said, I think I'm going to be considered a bad teacher this year because I got to do all this testing on top of that. And totally distracted from what they have to do. So
well, and it is, and we also obviously we do shows like this in various places, ads, letters to the editor in local papers, because you really do have to gear it at the local level.
Right.
For people in Nashua to say, who to call here in Nashua or in Bedford, New Hampshire, call myself or somebody like that, because they're probably not going to call somebody far away,
You would think Nashua would take, a great interest in this because Revere is obviously here. So
Yeah, well, we have fair representation from Nashua.
right. So, but across the state, Berlin, Claremont, Keene.
Where we've really has stood out in the last 4 or 5 years have been the smaller towns up north.
Right.
Have sent
Colebrook.
students.
Yeah.
Walpole, New Hampshire has gotten very involved.
People live up there?
Sugar Hill. Yeah, we had a
Hill.
student from Sugar Hill last year, which is way up there, just south of
And
Littleton.
the other one, surprisingly, that is starting to, we've seen an uptick in is homeschool students. And then hopefully we can continue to expand on that, because that's they are students within the state, and we should be reaching out to them as well. So it's hard to corral them and
Right.
get the word out to them, which
How
is
about
what
private schools? Christian
they get the
schools,
same
parochial?
Oh,
information.
yeah, they're all, we
as
take
long
them,
as they're listed on the
Department of
websites,
Education website.
Oh, great.
they get the information, and so we don't care.
One thing we didn't talk about yet that we talked about over coffee was we do have the students participate in an exercise by the Concord Coalition, which is a reduce the deficit budget. And as I mentioned to you, we give the kids game boards, and they're given a set of coins for the income to the country. It's the only national exercise we do because it's great. And they get so many coins for that. Then when they see the expenditures, they realize, boy, they're really short of coins. They can't match it, so they're given a different color coin to exemplify what the deficit is. And then we use an actual federal budget, I guess the last one that was the last budget they had. And the kids go through all the different departments and the organizations. If they want to raise defense money, they got to take it from somewhere else.
But then it becomes fun for the members of the staff, myself and others will stand behind them and go, well, wait a minute, I'm a veteran, and you're going to take the money away from Veterans Affairs, or you're not going to fund the DOD? So they have to understand that there's also these big constituencies behind them, whether it's represented by lobbyists or just the people who have elected them, supposedly saying, don't cut my breadbasket.
So they set a goal of cutting $10 trillion over the next 10 years, and then they see how close they can get to it. So it's kind of a fun exercise, but it really makes them aware of what's going on.
Tough decisions. It's not just, you can't just keep criticizing the politicians until you see what they're doing.
Exactly.
But then after you know what they're doing, you can still criticize them a little
Well,
bit.
of course, that's part of the fun.
Right. So is there anything else that you'd want our viewers to know about?
Well, it is run the last week in June, first week in July. We're still negotiating, I believe, with Riviera on exactly when it is. We should have all the packets out in March to the schools, and anybody who wants to know more, go to the website
And the website is again one more time?
Yeah, it's www.newhampshireboystate.org, and that information will be updated also March 1st.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And if you want to get your student involved with this, please contact them. This is a great opportunity to get your students involved or have a good understanding on how your state and local government works. It's amazing, and I'm glad that you're doing this. Thank you. All right. So until next week, thank you very much for watching Gate City Chronicles.